Yes, another week, another Chatterbox, and we've got a special review for you guys today. My name is Dan, and obviously I got the team with me. It's the Harrow Bro P.
Yeah.
Dunno, it's North London's wildest. It's the OG, the one and only Des,
Hey, hey.
and yes, South London's finest, the original garage skanker is Sean. What's good, boys? Are we feeling good? Are we feeling the energy?
Yeah, feel it hype,
Yeah.
man. Feel it
Good,
hyped.
man.
Come on.
Good.
Come on, do you know what? This movie is seen as an all-time great in Indian cinema history. And although it's no longer in the top 10 most expensive Indian films made, just let that sink in for a minute. It's no longer in the top 10 most expensive Indian films made. Raw, this is just mad. Anyway, a lot of fans point to this film as money well spent. Produced by Accra Media, a Telugu cinema production, which cemented the cult status of Prabhas and SS Rajamouli. I love that name, you know. I love that name. This film is none other than Baahubali, The Beginning. And today we are doing a review of the whole film. Now, the runtime is 158 minutes. It's the widest dubbed Indian film, and it has over 5,000 video
Wow.
effects. It's a special piece of work. And also, it's the only Indian film to feature in a BBC documentary on 100 years of cinema. Interesting that the BBC only had one Indian film. I ain't going to go into that. Anyway, although it has a lot of love, there is always the people that disagree with its greatness. So, jumping straight into it, where do you guys stand on the line of Bahubali?
I'll be hearing raves about this, man. A lot of people are talking about it. All the chatbot subscribers were saying, this is a film, you gotta watch it. It is a masterpiece. And I kind of, during the movie, I was like, okay, bit of a watercolor, not quite a masterpiece.
Oh, okay.
I,
We'll
I
come back to that.
I have to totally disagree. For me, it was a slow burner. It was a slow burner, but you at the end of it, you really appreciate it, and I really liked it. So yes, I think it is a masterpiece.
Okay.
I'm similar to P. I do think it was a slow burner, but it didn't disappoint as the film went on with the build up. Started learning a bit more about the characters and that, and I think that definitely had a massive impact on the fact that I can see why this is a masterpiece coming from the Indian film industry.
Des, why on earth did you feel that this film disappointed you?
I did say disappointed me. I didn't say that. So people out there, I didn't say it disappointed me. I said it turned out to be a bit of a watercolor. But then I think another artist just came in and started to create a new design. And that was towards the end of the film. And pushed it back up to where it's supposed to be, that kind of masterpiece status. But it still was hanging, it still needed a little bit more to really fulfill me. So maybe the conclusion is going to be the masterpiece.
Okay. Let's lay our thoughts clear. There's a lot to talk about with this film. There's a lot, like I said, how long the film is. So I'm gonna say a different area of the film, the production, whatever, and I want you guys to give your opinion. Starting off with the cinematography and the editing.
The cinematography for me was amazing, although it was hard to tell which was cinematography at times, at which point it was visual effects. The landscape in the opening scene I thought was beautiful. Those intimate moments, the battle scene at the end. The only thing I could fault in the cinematography was their use of point of view shots. I thought their point of view shots were a little bit weird and I couldn't understand how they worked, and they were a little bit obscure. I think the pace was really good. Depth of field, there's so many elements I could explore, but I thought it was a really good film, for especially such a long film as well.
Well, for me, when I saw the trailer, I was like, wow, this is powerful, man. This is must see. Graphically, it looked amazing. I sat down and watched the film, and it kind of, for me, CGI was too much. It kind of overtook the whole story for me. Some parts of the CGI was fantastic and it warranted it. and it kind of blended and made the film watchable. And other times it was like, really, really,
But
really.
you sound disappointed. In one breath, you
I'm
say
not disappointed. I just, I,
the tone
I
sounds
just
like you're
wanted to
disappointed.
see some more. I wanted a nice flow, a nice steady flow. That's not disappointment. Disappointment would have been like, nah, forget it. That's disappointment. You know what I mean? So I'm still vibing. I'm still vibing on this. You get me? I'm still vibing on it.
All right, cool.
It's like you have 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Well, I suppose you could say something like that. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And the 1 foot in is kind of the CGI. You know what I mean? They have to draw
Des,
my foot in.
Des is getting splinters from sitting on the fence, isn't it? One of them
Uh,
ones.
he said he was in pain. He said it was his back. Really, it's just the splinters in his butt, innit? Come on. All right, how about the sex?
Did you say the
Well,
sex?
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
yeah. What did you guys think of the sets, the scenery? What did you think?
Yeah, no. I thought the sets was good. I like the sets. The forest where he first met Avantika, I think her name was. The final battle scene as well. I thought the sets there were fantastic. The set in the palace where Sivagami took control of the kingdom. I thought that set was great as well. Overall, I think I really enjoyed the sets. I think they did well. And also, to be fair, like I know obviously there were some things with the CGI that was a little bit off. But when I think the budget that they had for this film and what they actually accomplished with it, I think they did a really good job. Because I think the budget was only 30 million to make. So I mean, in regard to some of the flaws that it might have had, the CGI, I can be a little bit forgiving with that because I know they didn't have the same level of budget what we see in some of the other films. So yeah, I think for that, the sets, I think I'll give it a thumbs up. I enjoyed it. It was what I like, and they did really well.
I love the scenery, the waterfall, and the place where he met Avantika. A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scene. I mean, I'd love to get married in a place like that. And that for me was like, yes, thumbs up there anyway. So yeah, some of the sets were great. Yeah.
So, what did you guys think about the effects? There was a lot of CGI, special effects. What did you guys think?
It was hard to judge. This was the only gripe I had with the film. It was hard to judge what was real and what wasn't. And sometimes I felt that the visual effects, there wasn't enough realism in certain aspects of it. And it just felt like it could have been a little bit better. Because
Mm.
remember, this film was made around 2014, 2015. That is when they were doing most of this. And you have to think about what they were producing back in 2000 with Gladiator and between
Mhm.
2001 and 2003 with Lord of the Rings. Now, obviously, as Sean had just said, the budget wasn't as high, but with the visual effects that are out nowadays, could it have been a little bit better, especially with the bull scene? I was like,
Mm.
yes, I know this is a pivotal moment in the film, but I was like, that bull looks so fake. It looked like I could literally walk through it. It looked like a hologram. So there were certain moments, but what I had to make sure I remember, this is a fantasy, and because of the storyline, it allowed me to be caught up in that fantasy.
I got the feeling like the first visual effects creator kind of quit halfway through, and then they got somebody else. He took over, and then once he became kind of cemented in, yeah, this is what it should look like. Then it kind of mellowed out and it flowed from there. So there was kind of like,
Yeah, I agree. It was the lack of consistency because it opened the beautiful waterfall scenes. I think that were
yeah.
around were filmed in Kerala. I thought they were beautiful, and the visual effects around there was amazing. And then they had some other scenes. I was like, did they run out of money? And then I saw the battle scene. I was like, oh, that's where the money went.
That's interesting. What about the performances? Let's get into the acting.
For me, I love Avantika, naturally beautiful, and I love her strong role. She just stands out for me. I could just close my eyes and I can see her. She's standing right in front of me there.
Wait, hold on a second.
Oh,
Let's
look
all
at that
close our eyes.
waterfall. Yeah, Chloe. No, no, no. I don't want you to see her. That's for me to see. For my eyes only. My eyes only. This is how it is. Avantika. Oh,
This used to be a family show.
I also like Kapata. I love this character. He was like emotionally invested in the king, and his role was like conflicted. And yeah, he was born a slave to the kingdom, and you could see it. I mean, in his acting style, in just his presentation, that he was so conflicted. And I felt at times he was happy, at times he was sad. I felt his emotion throughout, and I really liked his character. In a way, he kind of reminded me of Donnie Yen as well from Ip Man, and because he was graceful but conflicted as well. And I like his fight style. You know what I mean? And it's a bit like Donnie Yen.
Des, man, you take me on a journey. When you you don't just answer questions. You open a book and you start illustrating pictures, and I'm sitting there like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, so like the
As
storyline. For real, Des, I love the way you answer the questions, man. You take us on a journey, but I want to hear what you guys have got to say about the storyline as well, man. Was you feeling it? Did you get into the story?
Well, the storyline, I thought there was nothing original about the storyline. You've seen that formula tried and tested before. Lost child returns home to take his rightful place, intermixed with romance, treachery, drama, wise words, and a mind-blowing battle scenes. You have seen all of those before, but the way how they put it together, I thought it was really fantastic, and the way how they left it on a cliffhanger. I nearly start watching part two as soon as finished part one, even though part one was 158 minutes long. I was just like, wow, I'm caught. I need to watch more. So I've seen the storyline before, but I thought it was fantastic.
Like for a Western audience, if they were to ask you what storylines you would say were similar to this,
Of like a Troy, but mixed with a bit of a Robin Hood twist to it. You know, it started with a tragedy. It also had a bit of tongue and cheek in there in the characters and that, and it led to like a journey of discovery. But also there was a bit of a triumph at the end.
It reminded me of four different programs: Game of Thrones, battle scenes, Hercules, basically how Baahubali was walking around and his strength and his power and his grace. That element where the baby was held up above the water reminded me of a scene from Apocalypto.
ah,
The final was a cartoon, Prince of Egypt. He's going to lead his people. He's going to take them to the promised land. These were the four different programs that reminded me when I watched Bali Bali.
okay, okay, interesting.
there were elements of like Ten Commandments. When he was just walking through, there's a particular scene where he almost seemed as though he was cutting the water in half, pushing the water to the side as he's walking. The way he's just leading his people as well. Also, elements of gladiators, and I know with the fight with the bull, even though the gladiator scene was a lot better than that one there. Like you said, Troy. There's a little bit of Ben Hur as well with the chariots, especially when the chariot was on fire. You know, chariots on fire.
So there were 5 moments in Bahubali which can't be forgotten. Sivagami and baby Mahendra, Balala Deva and the bull, the golden statues, Sivagami and the princes, and the betrayal. But for you guys, which scenes stood out for you and why?
You know, it has to be when he meets Avantika. It has to be. You know, it was just beautiful. It was just mind blowing. First of all, just seeing this image just floating around, you know, in just white silk in a way, and she's just calling him. It's like this was his calling. He needed to be close to her in order to reach his goal, to reach the top of the waterfall where he was meant to be. And she was kind of his guide, although from a distance, and she just led him wherever. He was in love, man. He was in love with her. Or was it I was in love with her? I can't remember. But you know, and for me, just the dancing and the singing and just it was just sublime. It was just mind blowing. He was smooth. This guy was smooth. I mean, we talk about Rocky. Rocky ain't got no lines, man. He had no lines. This guy had lines for her, man. This guy, he washed her hair under the waterfall as she tried to attack him. He took off her clothes as she tried to attack him. He put on her makeup as she tried to attack him. And it was like, wow. And he just tamed her. He really tamed her because she was a warrior. Yeah, she was stone cold
How did
warrior.
he tame her?
How did he tame her? By just undressing her. Just in his moves, in the little things that he did. Like I said, he washed her hair, he changed her clothes, and then just looking at each other. And that's it kind of killed it for me after all of that because I loved her role as a warrior, and he made her into this a kind of this woman now fell in love with him, and she wasn't as anymore. She wasn't as angry. She was softer. But I wanted her to be that warrior. I wanted that fierceness in her because I was so attracted to the fierceness. But he saw the fierceness and he wanted to make her soft because he fell in love with her. He wanted to just soften her sides, soften her heart. And that's what he did. So when he met her, he was able to do that in so many ways. And this has never been done before. I've never seen it before in any film. And that I loved it. I loved it. I really did love it.
No, for me, I think Sivagami, that scene with her where she had to, sort of take the reins of the kingdom after the king passed away, I thought that was really powerful. I loved that scene. The rebellions, they thought they was going to come in and take over. She wasn't having it, mate. She was like, no, this is how we're going to do things. Do you know what I mean? She took on, Amarindra's dad, I believe it was, and took him in as her son. Made sure that he had an opportunity for the crown just as much as her own son. So I thought that was really powerful that she did that, and seeing a woman take charge like that, I thought that was a really good part of the film that they was able to portray. Because let's have it right, women, I know they've been oppressed in the past, but when you go back a lot further, women had a lot of power. Do you know what I mean? Back in the day, we had queens in Egypt, in India, all over the place. And it's good to sometimes see that depicted on film. So yeah, for me, I would say that was probably one of my favorite scenes from the film.
For me, it had to be the final battle scene. Although it's 30 something minutes long, a fifth of the movie. One thing I can say, it was intense, and to me, no other scene was better than that throughout the movie. What made the battle scene so vital was the subplots to the main battle, Baahubali versus Baladiva, Baahubali versus Bajaladiva. In the battle scene, Baahubali showed his ingenuity, his sincerity, his loyalty, and leadership, all by showing his barbaric side. It was just so much going on in that battle scene. Visual effects, the great cinematography, the amazing sound, the lovely performances. But time just seemed to fly when I was watching that scene, and I thought it was the most fantastic scene of the whole film. And I think that is why a lot of our subscribers asked us to review that scene for them prior.
Yeah, that was an epic scene there, P, man. Like, oh my days, woo, something else. But I noticed none of you mentioned the climax of Katapa killing Bahubali. Did that shock you guys?
Yeah, that was definitely a shock, man. I did not see that coming at all. That just caught me completely off guard. And I mean, he was one of my favorite characters in the film as well. So you can imagine seeing someone who you really thought, this is a great guy. Like, I could see he's got a lot of honor about him, and you could sort of see that when they introduced his character. And then when you heard that he was like the Judas, do you know what I mean, who stabbed him in the back, I was just like, nah, that just doesn't feel right to me.
I was half shocked, if there's such a thing, because it was like, oh, yeah, yeah. And this was all based on him and his dedication to the original prince. He was born to serve, and therefore he can do anything. He's conflicted already. So this didn't surprise me. It half surprised me. I wished it didn't happen, but it did happen, and I wasn't entirely surprised that it did happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what scene I thought was another one that we didn't really touch on? Scene when Amarinja chopped off Bargis's head whilst he was still walking. I thought that was like, that one's got to get a mention because I've never seen that before in a film, and I thought that was nuts.
And
Yeah, man was still walking like I thought that was a nut scene. So yeah, man, I'll definitely have to give that one a mention.
he was walking for how long after? Maybe a good solid minute.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It
That was
remi-
nice.
Have you
it
guys ever
reminded-
seen when you take the head off a chicken?
yeah, I was
Yeah,
about
I was going to say that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what it was like.
to take a head off, the
I remember
chicken.
the first time I saw a chicken get his head cut off, right? And sorry for anyone who's squeamish watching this, but like it just bounces about for like, and it keeps balance as well. Sometimes it falls over, but it just keeps going for like ages, man. It's the weirdest thing. Like other animals, they kind of just collapse after not long, but clearly they're similar to a chicken. Now, someone else that we definitely have to talk about is female representation because it was different from the traditional Indian film. What were you thinking about this, guys? What's your thoughts?
From my limited experience of Indian films, women are represented through something called the male gaze. Basically, they're quite submissive to the man's will. But within this, and I can only talk from episode one, episode two, the characters could completely evolve. But so far, they're portrayed differently. Sivagami portrayed as intuitive, stubborn, and a leader. Avantika was represented as a warrior. She had certain male traits of headstrong and wanted to run into danger. Don't know how their female portrayals will change in part two, but they were completely different from the norm.
And I suppose that all adds up to the main reason why people tune into our reviews of any film or TV series because they want to know how many stars we're going to give it. So out of 5, Haribro P, how many is it getting?
I can't give it 5 because I haven't seen part 2, and I have a feeling part 2 might be better. And if I give this 5, I'd have to give part 2 maybe 6, which I can't give 6 out of 5, so I'm going to give it 4.
OG Des?
I'm going to have to go with 3.
What?
I'm going to have to go with 3.
He's
Yes.
giving his reasons.
Yeah. For me, it's the unrealistic at times visual effects. It took it from the movie. They had some really, really nice moments that I loved, and other moments it kind of like, really? Nah, come on. And it kind of went 3, 4, 3, but I'm sticking with 3.
Des,
I
I
have to say that.
respectfully say you don't know what you're talking about.
But that's cool then. That's cool. That a lot of the time. What you don't I don't know what I'm talking about either. Okay. See, I'm having an argument with myself.
Yeah. Sean, what you
But I
saying,
still
man?
think sticking with a 3.
How many
Well-
stars again, Sean?
Yeah, well, I gotta say, I really enjoyed the action. I really enjoyed the music as well, and the story was good. It was solid. The CGI did let it down a little bit in the beginning, but with that final battle scene, I think it redeemed itself. So for me, I've got to give it 4 stars. I'm really looking forward to the second film. So let's see what they're going to bring to us.
Woo, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna give it 4 stars, man. They put a lot of work into this. It definitely is one of the greatest. It has its flaws, but boom, there you go, guys. 4 stars. Let us know what you're thinking. Hit us up on the socials. You know where the comments are, because that's how we found this movie. And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you ain't subscribed already. I want like 50 million likes for this video as well. What you saying, boys? My name's Dan. It's the Haribro P, North London's wildest. It's the OG Des, the original garage skanker, South London's finest. It's Sean. This is Chatterbox. Peace and love, people.